Which celebrity did you meet only to find out they're a total jerk? 1. Back in 1994 I was working at a stage show in one of the many Vegas casinos as a singing waiter. One evening our showroom hosted a gala charity event and the stars were abundant. Most were pleasant enough but one person in particular was just ungodly obnoxious. Alan Thicke. As we worked the room serving drinks and taking orders, he barked at me that he was assured that the help were instructed not to speak to him. I replied, if I don't speak to you then how can I get your drink order? He angrily gave me his order and said, now you know. Tell your friends and don't even think about asking for an autograph. I replied with, I'm sorry, sir, I'm not familiar with who you are, and walked away. At Mr. Miyagi Morita followed me, grabbed my arm and said that was priceless. He's a self-absorbed asshole and you just ruined his night. Thank you. He then proceeded to tell everyone about it and all night long stars thanked me for smacking down Alan Thicke. So, I met a huge jerk and one of the nicest men in Hollywood all in one night. 2. Not me, but a friend of mine. My friend, we'll call him Greg, was a manager at Caesars in Atlantic City. They had A-list celebrities in there on a regular basis, so they weren't at all intimidated by them. Once, Pat Benatar came in and reduced one of the waitstaff to tears with a tirade. Greg went out to see what the problem was, and this conversation ensued. Greg, how can I help you? Ms. Benatar? Benatar, I don't want any of your effing staff coming up to me while I'm eating. I just want my own personal waitress, and I don't want anyone else coming up to me either. Can you effing make that happen, please? Greg, sure. Dials phone. Jimmy, head chef. Greg, hey, Pat Benatar is here, and she doesn't want to be disturbed while she eats. Pause. Benatar, she had a couple hits back when we were in about, fourth grade or so. Benatar, head snaps up. Greg, yeah, well, she doesn't want to be bothered, she only wants her own waitress at her table. Can you let the staff know? Thanks. Pause. I'll ask. To Benatar, can you get Stevie Nicks' autograph? Benatar, stomps out, served her right. 3 years ago I worked as a manger in Hotel Bel Air and I have also worked in the Marmon. The list is endless. It is important that you know that the way they act in public is not how they really are in private. It was my job to serve their needs and not fawn over them. Actually, it is way cooler not to approach them at all and see what they are up to. I cannot think of how bad it would be to have that trade-off where you have cell phones in your face, etc. etc. Jerks. Will Smith, Lauren Bacall, Jennifer Lopez, Jennifer Lawrence, Mariah Carey, Jennifer Aniston, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan. The real deal. Keanu Reeves, Val Kilmer, Christopher Walken, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Stephen King, Tom Cruise, Leo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Jay Leno. That's all I can think of. Oh, Oprah does not tip. I ran my staff ragged on that suite. She did a show on tipping, not a dime was left for the maids. 4. I have met quite a few authors chasing book signings around, including Stephen King, about 6 times when he was in the UK. I once went to a J.K. Rowling event in Bath, near Bristol, in England, when she was promoting a casual vacancy, her first non-Potter title. So, I was with my 2 sisters, one of whom, C, has severe cerebral palsy, and is wheelchair bound, and my mum. So, one sister, N, and my mum were in the general stalls of the auditorium. I and my sister, C, were placed with a number of other disabled people on the left-hand side near the stage, optimal for the view and the subsequent planned signing. So, JKR is being interviewed on stage when my sister C starts to cough. As she has got older, her swallow and gag reflexes have become a lot worse, especially when eating, to the point where she's quite embarrassed to eat in public now, and it's getting louder and more frequent, to the point where an usher comes up and asks if she wants some water. The usher goes to get some, but while she gone, the coughing gets louder, and she can't stop. Suddenly, JKR stands up and walks to the edge of the stage and shouts, is somebody dying over there? ? She looks right at my sister as she says this. She's only about 20 feet away. She can plainly see it's a disabled person in difficulty, but she makes no apology. Her question seemed more annoyance than a genuine concern for the welfare of another human being, and the whole auditorium is now looking at my sister, who is now feeling pretty embarrassed. As I remember it, I recall her shouting the question rather than simply just asking it. But maybe I am being oversensitive. But when it came to the signing, there was no "Are you okay now? Can I do anything for you?" No. I handed JKR the book my sister wanted signed, Beetle the Bard, and she said, sorry, not signing any Potter books, just a casual vacancy. So my sister, already feeling pretty humiliated in front of a 4,000 crowd, didn't even get her book signed. There were people there in that room who were weeping openly, for being in the same room as JKR. All I saw was a woman who was completely devoid of a sense of basic compassion. This was several years ago, but it affects my sister to this day. 5. Cindy Crawford. 1992. My roommate and I were at Dulles International visiting a friend that managed a private airline company. One of his employees came into the office and said, Cindy Crawford is out there in the lobby waiting on a flight. My roommate was so excited as his brother was in love with Cindy Crawford. We went out, he introduced himself, told her about his brother and asked for an autograph. Seeming rather agitated, which I understand as I'm sure this gets old to celebrities, she asked if he had a pen and paper. My roommate hands it over to her and she scribbles her name. My roommate then asked if she could address it to his brother and maybe put something on there about playing the drums. She tears the page off, does as requested, and annoying says, anything else? He says nope. Thank you so much. She then looks at me and says I suppose you want one too? To which I replied I don't even know who you are. Insert eye roll. Had I known she was Richard Gere's wife at the time, I would have asked for his autograph. 6. Bill Cosby. Years ago I worked for a congressman. He was a gem of a human being. Although he was very powerful on the Hill, he was incredibly caring and humble. Each year we as staff would put together a fundraiser. We would bring entertainment in from the film and music industry. This particular year Bill Cosby was the headliner. He was unlike any other entertainer that took part in the festivities. The people of our congressional district were vast in nature. We had some of the wealthiest people, and also some of the poorest. Never, at these events was anyone treated better or less than because of their economic or social standing. On this particular evening there was a meet and greet before and after the show. I was shocked to see Bill Cosby completely refused to speak to an elderly African-American woman. I remember that as she tried to speak he looked off into the distance as though she did not exist. I could see the sad embarrassed look on her face. She was visibly shaken, turning and walking away. His treatment of her shook me to my core. She was a huge fan of Cosby. In those days his show was most popular. On the show he appeared to be down to earth, warm, friendly and compassionate. Mistakenly we thought him to be the same in real life. He was not. He was rude, aloof, superior and condescending. The woman, although poor, was someone who supported the Democratic Party. She volunteered her time because she had little or no money to give. He was not the man that he portrayed himself to be in his show. Given recent events I can understand why. He was a poor excuse for a human being, a jerk.